Okay, so get this. You're at work, and the sun is streaming through the windows and like powering your computer.
Well, that's exactly the idea behind transparent solar cells, TSCs.
Yeah, they're basically invisible solar panels, right?
Yeah, well, that's the goal. And that's what we're diving into today.
We found this really cool article in Ecoticias that says TSCs could generate like 1,000 times more power than those bulky solar panels we're all used to.
It's pretty wild, right?
For sure. And I think a lot of people are probably thinking self-charging smartphones or like skyscrapers that are just giant energy generators.
Yeah. But before we go full sci-fi, let's back up a bit.
Yeah, for sure. Like, what even are transparent solar cells? How do they work?
Okay, so the first thing to know is that TSCs are different from traditional solar panels in a bunch of ways. Like, they're flexible.
Oh, wow. So you could put them like on curved surfaces.
Exactly. And they can be integrated into windows or even fabric. And they use organic solar cells.
Organic solar cells, so like made from plants.
Well, not exactly. They use a type of organic material that can absorb light and convert it into electricity.
Gotcha. And the transparent part comes from the fact that they use near-infrared solar cells, right?
Exactly. NISCs, as they're called, can absorb the invisible near-infrared light while letting visible light pass through.
So you can see right through them.
Yeah, they have like a 70% average visible transmittance, so pretty much invisible to the naked eye.
That's wild. Okay, so we have these near-infrared cells that are integrated into materials to create these transparent panels, but how do they actually, like, generate power?
So the real magic is in the materials themselves. TSCs use these super thin two-dimensional materials, like imagine a sheet of material just a few atoms thick.
Oh, that's tiny.
And they're so thin, they're basically invisible, but they can still absorb sunlight.
How is that even possible?
Well, it's all about the unique structure of these materials. One type they use is called transition metal dihalcogenides, or TMDs.
TMDs.
Yeah.
Try to keep up.
It's a mouthful, I know. But basically, these TMDs have this special structure that lets them absorb light really, really well.
So they're like super efficient light absorbers.
Yeah, you could say that. The article specifically mentions tungsten disulfide, or WS0.
You see the WS0?
Yeah, it's like the star player in this whole process. It helps boost the efficiency of the solar cell like crazy.
Okay, so TMDs and WS0s are the secret sauce making these TSCs work.
Pretty much. They're the key to converting more sunlight into usable energy.
Okay, so now back to that 1,000 times more power claim. Is that actually realistic, or is that just like marketing hype?
So it's important to remember that TSCs are still a pretty new technology.
Right, they're not like ready to take over the world just yet.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential, but there are also some hurdles we need to overcome.
Like what kind of hurdles?
Well, one of the biggest ones is cost. Right now, the manufacturing process for TSCs is pretty complex.
So they're expensive to make.
Yeah, they require a lot of precision, which drives up the cost.
I see. So cost is one thing. What else is holding them back?
Durability is another big one. We need to make sure that TSCs can withstand all sorts of weather conditions.
Yeah, like what happens if a hailstorm hits a window that's also a solar panel?
Right. So making them durable enough for the real world is a challenge.
Okay, so cost and durability.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Well, scalability is another one. Can we actually produce these TSCs on a large enough scale to meet global energy demands?
That's a good point. It's one thing to make a cool prototype, but it's another thing entirely to mass produce it.
Exactly. So we need to figure out how to scale up production without sacrificing quality or affordability.
Right. Okay, so we've talked about the challenges, but let's shift gears and talk about the potential applications. Because this Ecoticias article makes it sound like TSCs could revolutionize a ton of industries.
Oh yeah, the possibilities are huge. We're talking about everything from architecture and transportation to personal electronics and beyond.
Okay, let's start with architecture. The article mentions skyscrapers that are basically vertical power plants.
Yeah, so imagine buildings with facades made entirely of transparent solar cells. They could generate enough energy to power themselves and even feed surplus energy back into the grid.
That's amazing. It's like turning the whole city into a solar farm.
It's a pretty radical idea.
Yeah.
But it's not just about skyscrapers. Any building with windows could benefit from this technology.
So we could have homes, offices, even schools generating their own clean energy.
Exactly. It's all about integrating clean energy into the fabric of our lives.
I love that. Okay, so architecture is one thing. What about transportation? How would TSCs change things for electric cars?
Well, imagine electric vehicles that charge themselves as they drive.
Wait, what? How would that even work?
You could integrate TSCs into the roof, the hood, even the windows of a car.
So as you're driving around, you're constantly capturing sunlight and charging your battery.
Exactly. It could potentially eliminate range anxiety altogether.
That would be a game changer for sure. No more worrying about finding a charging station on a road trip.
Yeah, it could make electric cars way more appealing to people who are on the fence about making the switch.
And it would obviously be great for the environment too.
Absolutely. Less reliance on fossil fuels means cleaner air and a healthier planet.
Okay, so architecture and transportation. What about personal electronics? The article talks about self-charging smartphones and laptops.
Yeah, that's one of the most exciting applications. Imagine never having to plug in your phone again.
Seriously. That would be a dream come true. No more hunting for outlets or tangled charging cables.
It would definitely simplify things. And think about the possibilities for wearable tech.
Like smartwatches and fitness trackers that never need to be charged.
Exactly. Or medical devices that constantly monitor vital signs without needing bulky batteries.
That could be huge for healthcare, especially for people with chronic conditions.
Yeah, it could revolutionize the way we manage our health.
Okay, I have to ask. Self-charging smartphones. Is that really on the horizon, or is that still science fiction?
Well, a world where we never have to plug in our devices might be a few years away.
Yeah, I figured it was too good to be true.
But it's not entirely out of reach. The ability to capture ambient light and turn it into usable energy could change everything about how we design and use electronics.
I can already picture myself throwing away all my charging cables. Though I guess we'd still need them for nighttime.
Well, actually, remember, these cells are designed to capture near-infrared light, which is present even in low-light conditions.
So even indoors, you could get some passive charging.
Yeah, it might not be enough to fully charge your device, but it could extend battery life significantly.
That's still pretty amazing. It's like constantly siphoning off a tiny bit of energy from your surroundings.
It's a pretty cool concept, right?
For sure. It's like we're blurring the lines between our devices and the environment around us.
Exactly. It's all about finding new ways to harness the energy that's already out there.
Okay, so we've talked about all these amazing potential benefits, but what about the downsides? Like, what's the environmental impact of manufacturing and disposing of all these TSCs?
You bring up a good point. While TSCs themselves are a clean energy source, we need to think about their entire life cycle.
Right, like where do the materials come from and what happens to them when they reach the end of their life?
Exactly. We need to make sure that we're using sustainable materials and that we have robust recycling programs in place.
So we don't create a whole new e-waste problem.
Exactly. It's about being responsible and thinking about the long-term consequences.
I think that's a good reminder for any new technology.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in the excitement, but we need to be mindful of the potential downsides too.
Absolutely. We need to make sure that these advancements are truly beneficial for both people and the planet.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today. We talked about what TSCs are, how they work, the challenges they face, and some of the incredible potential applications.
It's a lot to take in. It's a pretty complex technology, but it's also incredibly fascinating.
For sure. And I think it has the potential to change the world in some really profound ways.
I agree. It's not just about making things more efficient. It's about reimagining our relationship with energy and creating a more sustainable future.
Well said. I'm excited to see where this technology goes in the years to come.
Me too. I think we're just scratching the surface of what's possible.
I have a feeling we'll be talking about TSCs a lot more in the future.
I'm sure we will. It's a topic that's only going to become more relevant as time goes on.
Okay, so before we wrap up this deep dive into the world of transparent solar cells, I want to leave our listeners with a question to ponder. What would a world powered by clean energy look like? How would it change our lives, our communities, and our planet? It's something to think about. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.
See you then.
Okay, so skyscrapers that are basically giant power plants. That's pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's like turning our buildings into energy generators.
So instead of relying on a power plant somewhere miles away, each building could become its own little power station.
Right. It's all about decentralizing our energy infrastructure and making it more sustainable.
I like it. Okay, so we've talked about skyscrapers, but what about regular buildings like homes and offices?
Well, any building with windows could potentially benefit from this technology.
So we could have homes, offices, even schools generating their own clean energy.
Exactly. Imagine a world where every building contributes to a greener future.
That's a really cool vision. Okay, so architecture is one thing, but what about transportation? How would TSCs change things for electric cars?
Well, for starters, imagine electric vehicles that charge themselves as they drive.
Wait, are you serious? Like you're driving down the road and your car is just soaking up energy from the sun?
That's the idea. You could integrate TSCs into the roof, the hood, even the windows.
So it's like having a solar panel that's built right into your car
Exactly. It could dramatically extend the range of electric vehicles.
and potentially eliminate range anxiety altogether.
Right. No more worrying about running out of juice in the middle of nowhere.
That would be a game changer for a lot of people, I think.
For sure. It could make electric cars much more appealing to people who are hesitant about making the switch.
Plus, it's obviously great for the environment, too.
Absolutely. Fewer gas guzzlers on the road means cleaner air and a healthier planet.
Okay, so we've got buildings generating their own power. We've got cars that charge themselves as they drive. What else is on the horizon? What about wearable tech?
Oh, yeah. The possibilities for wearable tech are endless. Imagine smartwatches and fitness trackers that never need to be charged.
I'm already sold. Sign me up.
Or medical devices that constantly monitor your vital signs without needing bulky batteries.
That could be huge for healthcare, especially for people with chronic conditions.
Exactly. It could revolutionize the way we manage our health.
The article even mentions TSCs powering implantable medical devices.
Yeah, that's pretty mind-blowing. It could eliminate the need for risky battery replacement surgeries.
That's incredible. It's like we're moving towards a future where technology seamlessly integrates with our bodies.
It's all about using technology to improve our lives in meaningful ways.
Okay, so we've talked about self-charging smartphones and laptops. Is that really something we can expect to see in the near future?
Well, a world where we never have to plug in our devices might be a few years off.
Yeah, I figured it was too good to be true.
But it's not entirely out of reach. The ability to capture ambient light and turn it into usable energy could fundamentally change the way we design and use electronics.
I can already picture myself tossing out all my charging cables. So I guess we'd still need them for nighttime, right?
Well, actually, remember, these cells are designed to capture near-infrared light, which is present even in low-light conditions.
So even indoors, you could get some passive charging.
Exactly. It might not be enough to fully charge your device, but it could extend battery life significantly.
That's still pretty amazing. It's like constantly siphoning off a little bit of energy from your surroundings.
It's a pretty cool concept, right?
For sure. It's like we're blurring the lines between our devices and the environment around us.
Exactly. It's all about finding new ways to harness the energy that's already out there.
Okay, so we talked about all these amazing potential benefits, but what about the downsides? Like, what's the environmental impact of manufacturing and disposing of all these TSEs?
That's a really important question. While TSCs themselves are a clean energy source, we need to think about their entire life cycle.
Right, like where do the materials come from and what happens to them when they reach the end of their life?
Exactly. We need to make sure that we're using sustainable materials and that we have robust recycling programs in place.
So we don't just create a whole new e-waste problem.
Exactly. It's about being responsible and thinking about the long-term consequences.
I think that's a good reminder for any new technology. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement, but we need to be mindful of the potential downsides too.
Absolutely. We need to make sure that these advancements are truly beneficial for both people and the planet.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah.
We've talked about some pretty futuristic applications of TSEs. But I want to bring things back down to earth for a minute. What are some real-world applications of this technology that are happening right now?
Well, widespread adoption is still on the horizon, but there are already some really cool examples of TSCs in action.
Like what?
Well, for instance, there are several pilot projects underway to integrate TSCs into building facades.
So like those energy-generating windows we were talking about earlier?
Exactly. They're basically creating buildings that can generate their own clean energy.
That's awesome. Are there any other real-world examples you can share?
Yeah. In the automotive industry, there are ongoing experiments with integrating TSCs into car sunroofs and dashboards.
So like you could power your car's air conditioning or radio with solar energy?
Exactly. It's not mainstream yet, but it shows the potential for TSCs to enhance vehicle efficiency and reduce fuel consumption.
That's really cool. It's amazing to see how this technology is already starting to make its way into our everyday lives.
Yeah, it's just the beginning. I think we're going to see a lot more innovation in this space in the years to come.
I'm excited to see what the future holds for TSCs.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's definitely a technology to keep an eye on.
So we've got buildings generating their own power and cars with solar-powered dashboards. It's like something out of a sci-fi movie.
It's amazing how quickly this technology is evolving.
Yeah, for sure. But even with all these advancements, I bet some of our listeners are thinking, okay, but what does this mean for me?
Well, I think it's safe to say that TSCs have the potential to impact everyone in pretty profound ways.
Like how so?
Well, imagine a future where our cities are powered by clean energy generated by the buildings we live and work in.
So no more reliance on fossil fuels.
Exactly. We could have cleaner air, healthier communities, and a more sustainable planet.
That's a pretty compelling vision.
It is, and it's something that I think we should all be striving for.
But we're still in the early stages of this technological revolution, right?
You're right, there's still a lot of work to be done.
Like what?
Well, we need to continue to improve the efficiency and durability of TSCs.
And we need to find ways to make them more affordable and scalable.
Exactly. Those are the big challenges that researchers are working on right now.
So it sounds like there's a lot of exciting research happening in this field.
Oh, absolutely. It's a really dynamic area, and I'm optimistic that we'll see some major breakthroughs in the coming years.
So what can our listeners do to stay informed about all these developments?
Well, I would encourage everyone to stay curious and engage with the topic.
Like how?
Read articles, follow reputable news sources, attend industry events, just keep your finger on the pulse.
That's great advice. The more we understand about this technology, the better equipped we'll be to advocate for its responsible development.
Exactly. It's all about being informed and engaged.
Okay, so before we wrap up this deep dive into the world of transparent solar cells, I want to get your final takeaway, your big picture perspective on what this technology means for humanity.
Okay, well, for me, TSCs represent a beacon of hope. They show that we can find solutions to the challenges facing our planet.
It's like a symbol of our ingenuity and our commitment to a better future.
Exactly. Imagine a world where clean, renewable energy is accessible to everyone. A world where our cities gleam with the power of the sun, captured not by bulky panels, but by the very windows that connect us to the world outside.
That's a beautiful vision, and one that I think we can all get behind.
I hope so.
Well, thank you for sharing your expertise with us today. It's been a fascinating conversation.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey into the future of energy. Remember, the future is not something that just happens to us. It's something we create through our choices, our actions, and our unwavering belief in the power of human ingenuity. Stay curious, stay informed, and together let's build a brighter, more sustainable future.